Okay, hello. We got people coming in. Hello, hello. Welcome. We are gonna dive in and get started. So lovely to see your face. Um, all right, so we are going to dive right in the monthly reflection and planning session. Welcome everyone and everyone who's to come. What are we doing here? Well, we are going to reflect back on May and remember what the heck happened, and we're going to look at planning for June. Yes, we look at big plans. Yes, we look at our year plans. Yes, we look at 90-day plans. But the reality is the nuance, the details, and all the things that help us understand what to do happen in the small moments, right? It's in those in between spaces. So we have just gone through almost a full month, and it's time for us to look back and figure out what the lessons are and move forward with what's going to make the most sense for next month. So that's our goal today. That's what we're diving into. And let's make it happen. So, again, for those of you who don't know me, because I know this will be streamed to everybody else as well. So if I am new to you, I am Tanya Marie Figueres Kreisinger, and because that is a very long and difficult thing to say, I go by Tanya MFK. And because I don't like boring statistics, there are fun things on the screen that is about me, which actually looks like we need some updates because I'm now on my 21 years of global business development, as well as many other things. So, and I still eat all things spicy, and I love it. So, okay, moving on into what we're doing today. My M360 members, whoop, whoop, here in the room. Very excited to see your faces in here and those to come. I am coming live from Switzerland today, so that is very exciting. We are in the middle of a heat wave, which is not something I knew happened in Switzerland, y'all. So tell me about it. I really thought, come on, this is the place of the Alps. It gets cold and it gets, mid, right? It's like middle temperatures. I did not know that it's 32 degrees Celsius. I do not know what it is in Fahrenheit, but I know that it's very hot. So even for Fahrenheit. But anyhow, welcome my members. Thanks for having me and listening to my little story there. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So monthly reflection and planning session. Like I said, it's not a seminar. It's not a lecture. This is as fast and loud as I'm going to talk for the day. And then we're going to calm it down. We're going to slow it down and get into my yoga voice. And we are going to use guided questions to bring us through our aha moments today. So again, how does this work? Again, relax and prepare to write. For my members, you have a worksheet. If you're on YouTube, there is a link to the worksheet in the notes there. You don't have to have a worksheet, right? This is life. We can make it simple. So you got a piece of paper, whatever's going to work. But I will tell you, write it down. Don't just answer them in your head. There is something powerful, and it's not just me having a feeling. There is science behind this, why this is such a powerful practice, and what it means when you actually put it from the brain into quote unquote paper, or to the even to your digital paper. It's the act of moving from one space to the other. So please, let's get ourselves in a moment to relax. If that means kicking off your shoes, if it means a hot beverage, a cold beverage, an adult beverage, whatever that means for you, grab that and get prepared. We're going to go through that set of questions. You're going to have 1 minute to answer each question. We're not going to overthink it. We're not going to overdo it. We're just going to go with what is in our gut, on our head, and we're going to go with that. So that's how we'll do it. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. That's it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. So let's get started. All right. So we are looking at May, and we're going to start with listing every single significant thing that has happened last month. Again, this can be anything. It doesn't have to be achievements or just work or just life. Just give yourself a moment to recall what the heck happened in May. We had holidays. There were many I think Labor Day for the what are they? For us Europeans, we had Memorial Day in the US, Mother's Day in some places. What all happened in May for you? Anything that stands out? Maybe you stubbed your toe real bad in May. Maybe you signed a new client. If it stands out, write it down. Just remind yourself of May. All right. Couple more seconds there. Something is whistling, and I am not sure what it is. All right. Okay. May is on its final legs here. Its life is flashing before its eyes. Any of those final things to go, what was May? Oh, yes, yes, yes. Let's get it out. And we're going to move on. All right. So, number two, what was your biggest personal milestone or professional accomplishment this month, just in May? So, if there was something that you got done, you really hit, made happen in May, what was that? Could be a project, doesn't have to be an award or something. Project you finished. Maybe you drink more water. You were meaning to do that. Like it can just be something that you were working on that culminated or happened. Something you were like, I've been meaning to meet a Muppet. And said you finally did. It could be your biggest life accomplishment right there. So just a couple more seconds to identify anything in May that you go, oh, you know what? I did do that. I did take care. I did handle it. All right. Oh, I love it. Muppets are in progress. Yes. All right. Moving on, our next minute here. So, what did you do exceptionally well in May? So, milestone or not, just looking back on May, what could you say? I was pretty good at this. And it depends on what you're looking at. Maybe you were trying not to yell in traffic. Maybe you wanted to, eat more grains, right? Whatever it might be. Is there something you can go back? You know what? I actually did really good at handling X, Y, or Z. So, emotional, physical, work, whatever it might be, look back and me, I was pretty good at this. And sometimes it can be pretty good at handling storms, right? Sometimes it can be pretty good at handling chaos. I know a lot of people had a pretty chaotic, a lot happens, right? There's always a lot that happens. And sometimes just navigating that is really it, looking at your business, making decisions. Maybe you killed it. Maybe you went out and you asked the big questions. I know we had some members who shared, some big things they tried, and they go, I did really good at courage. So what did you do exceptionally well in May? It's hard to give kudos to yourself. You got to learn though. Got to learn. Just a couple more seconds. I don't have my cool setup today, so I have to use my phone. All right. So moving on. I'm going to make sure no one's left outside. All right. What was your most valuable lesson learned this past month? Just in May, your most valuable lesson learned this past month. And whatever pops up first, go with that. That's probably it. All right. What was your most memorable day in May and why? It's just a anchor point, whatever stands out, and whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent. If something stands out, just mark it. Just take it a moment and say, yeah, that's what that was. Most memorable day in May and why? Bonus if you have the why. Again, it's just a matter of kind of closing those out, having those anchors. Okay. Moving right along. What is something you did last month that you loved doing? So looking at May, wherever it may have been, is there anything that popped up and you said, you know what, that was nice. That was a nice moment. That was a nice experience. I really liked doing that or loved doing that. And the word do you like to use? Um, was there anything that stands out? Just take a moment and scan May for that. Some of you made space for or were forced to make space for. This is just about finding the insights. Sometimes it might be right on the nose, like, wow, I did that and I need to do that more. And sometimes just like take a note of, hmm, that was interesting. I did enjoy that. Getting to know yourself, seeing what it means. And then, of course, with that question, the next one is, what are ways that you could have more experiences like that? So as you look at that, we think about life, we think about what our days really are. You know, if we find moments and things that we love, it does not mean we have to find a way to do it daily. It doesn't even mean weekly. It doesn't even necessarily mean monthly. But before we let it slip away, are there ways that we can have more experiences like that? Can we consciously think about it and go, could I dance more? Could I go for karaoke more? Could I have those deep conversations with my friend more? Whatever that might be. And maybe the answer is no. Maybe the answer is yes. Or maybe it's not exactly like that, but in another vein, maybe. More experiences like that. Okay. Moving on. What was the most challenging part of the month for you, and how did you face it? So I'm sure May came with lots of different things for people. When you look at it, what specifically about May was the most challenging, and how did you face it? And remember, this is just for you. No one wins awards. This is just you taking stock of where you're at and where you're at when things are tough. Got 10 more seconds. All right. Now looking back on May, what would you have done differently? Looking back on May, what would you have done differently? All right. In what area do you feel you made your biggest improvements? When you're looking at May, just in that tiny moment of that month, what are some improvements? Or where do you think you made your biggest improvement in that month? Because we are always changing. And I am quite confident that you got better at something. It could be anywhere from skills to mindset. Your biggest improvements. I spoke with someone recently who said, a year ago, this would have broke me. And just seeing that improvement of how they're able to handle it, it's a big deal. It's a big improvement. Sometimes it's not always the situation, but it's you, right? You who improves, you who gets better. And again, maybe it's just drinking more water. I'm thinking about a lot of water related things. It's so hot out. Or maybe it's something deeper than that, right? That's why this is a reflection. It can be wherever it presents itself. So, in the vein of improvements, are there areas that you'd like to see more improvements? Now that you've looked back on May, where you're at, where you've been, where you've improved or maybe not, is there an area that you say, I'd really like to get a little better at X or be able to handle Z a little more? That's why we only have a minute. We don't get to make a long list here, okay? It's a short space to find improvement. So here you are. You were the April version of yourself. You went through April, coming from March. You became the end of this April person. Then you stepped into May. You thought about who you needed to be in May, how you needed to show up, right? If you're showing up with us monthly, you've been doing this work. So looking back, end of April, stepping into May, this new month, May flowers, right? How are you different? Just these 30 days. Maybe what you know, what you've learned, where you're at. How are you different this month at the end of this month than you were at the end of last month? You different than last month. I was hectic in April. April was one of those agree to chaos months, and then it ended. I had a specific ending, and wow, it's like I was a whole different person in May. I feel like whole lighter, and even if the more things that transpired in May just lightened. So yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? That's what we're looking at. Okay, so how are we different than last month? As we wrap this up, and if you have the worksheet, you can find the spot at the top of the worksheet. But just take a word, a theme. When you look back at May and go, that was the month of that was the month of this, right? Um, take a moment and just give yourself a theme or an emotion or something that just sums up the past month for you. And as I've shared before, if you do this with us every month of the year, it's interesting to look at those words, the 12 of them at the culmination and go, oh, what an interesting year. Your year in words or emotions. Very interesting. Okay. Ooh, so just a moment, little shake break. We're not going to go away or anything, but if I just take a moment, take a breather. That was May. That was May. Now, technically, you still have a couple more days, but mentally, it's June now. Okay. We've wrapped up May. It's done. It's over. I'm sorry if your birthday is on the 28th or 29th, but we're done now. We're done with May. We've wrapped it up. You've looked at it. You looked at what transpired. You looked at the lessons. You looked at the highs, the lows, all those pieces. And that was that. That was your life these past 30 days. I think it is so powerful and important for us to really take those moments to look and see that. Because when we talk about life passing us by, it's usually because we are not there with it. Right. We are in the future. And those of us in, and that's just everybody. Right. And then you throw in entrepreneurs, you throw in, this type A overachievers, and we're way, way ahead. Throw in the worriers. Oh my gosh. Right. They're already at the end. Okay. So we want to do is take a moment and be right here with it and go, oh, yeah, that's right. Wow, that was a lot. Or that's, I forgot that even happened. How many of you have had a week that feels like a month? I mean, I know we all have had those times. And so this is why it's so important for us to take this silly little thing of just reflecting on our month and thinking back, right? But too often we wait for the freight train to hit us to do that, right? We wait for something to fall apart to go, maybe, oh gosh, let me take stock of this. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to wait to use this beneficial, amazing thing that we have at our fingertips. That's so simple. It's so simple to do and show up, right? But it's also anything that's simple to do is also simple not to do. Right. So that's why we hold the space for this, because I could easily send out a worksheet and go, here, answer these questions, do your reflection. But there's something about being held to the process and showing up and doing it and being with that moment in those 30, 31 day increments and really reconnecting with the life you just lived that cannot be substituted with a list of questions, right? So that's why we do it. That's why we're here. And I hope that you got your insights for May. You felt it, you saw it, you remembered that you are living a rich and full life, full of ups and downs and all of those things. And now we are going to peer just a little bit into the future, a very little bit. Okay. We're going to look at the next month and figure out where we're headed. Okay. So let's move into that. So, how will we achieve our goals and what we're aiming for next month? So, the first simple question is looking into June. What do you look forward to achieving next month? And I want you to really go with whatever comes out from your gut right there. Not your list of to dos, we'll have that later. But when you go, what do I just really want to make sure it gets done, or I really would feel so good to achieve in June? What is that? Write that down. Okay. Hopefully your list isn't too long. But what we need to go is whatever's on your list, and maybe it's only one thing. But now that we look at that, what are your top goals for this month? It's one thing to say, I'd really like this to get achieved. But when we talk about very specific goals, what are your top goals for June? Top goals for June. So go ahead and write that down now. Top goals for June. So again, it could be projects, work things, but it also can be uh, health things, it can be life things, it can be stuff you're getting through, whatever that might be. It could be actual KPIs, top goals for this month, June. Okay. Top goals for June. Are the goals aligned with the bigger picture? So this question is about remembering. Now, if you've done work with us or been in our orbit for a bit, you know each year we really get clear on what it is that our top goal is for the year. So when you look at what that is, what you do all this for, right? What it is, the life you're working towards, or that big goal that you're working towards, and you look at these small things that you want to have accomplished in June. Are they connected? Do they serve that bigger part, or are we off track? Right? So this is just a really quick an alignment check to just go, hey, I know when I'm looking narrow and I'm looking into this small thing that seems like the best thing to get done. But if I zoom out for a second, does it actually make sense? So this is just a very quick question. Ideally, you don't need the full minute. But just give yourself a good yes or no. Are the goals you just wrote down aligned with the bigger picture that you have laid out? All right. So moving along from that, okay, so now you've written some things down, right? You've written some goals down, the top goals. What specific actions or action needs to be taken to reach those goals? This is where I want you to break it out into the nitty gritty. So if you've said, I want to, make a website, unless your next step is to open up the software and start coding, then what is the actual action steps? It could be start researching websites I like, or find a web designer and have a conversation, or, not even that, have a web designer reach out to have a conversation. So I want you to get to that specificity of the actions that you see in those goals that you just wrote down. So go ahead and get to that. A couple more seconds on that one. All right. I know a minute isn't a very long time, but at least starts to open up those ideas and get really clear about what those things you wrote down really mean and look like, right? So as you look at that stuff, the stuff that you want to do, the stuff and what it really takes to do it, what are the potential roadblocks? Are there things that could keep you from this? Are there things that could throw this plan off track, hold you back? Could be your own habits, mindset, things that you tend to do. It could be something third party. Sometimes your plan involves getting a yes from somebody, and there's a possibility that you get a no. Let's get clear just for a moment what those could be. What could throw us off track? This is the one time you have permission to worry. Okay. Then we're gonna plan out so we don't have to worry. Alrighty. Definitely not too much doom and gloom, but we might say, hey, maybe I could do too much like I usually do, or say yes to all these things, or so and so could really throw it off. And this is when we just get clear about what are we dealing with. We just got excited about our goals. We just started breaking down what it is, but what could throw us off track? And if we look at those things that could potentially throw us on track, are there ways that we could bypass it? Are there things we could prepare for, do, have plan Bs, have an acceptance plan, anything for those roadblocks? So, what could they be based on what you wrote down? So, we're going to start that now. What is your bypass plan? If your goal is to not eat cake and you're going to a cake festival, how do you bypass that? Do you cancel your cake festival tickets? I'm assuming this is a real thing, a cake festival, right? Um, do you cancel? Do you bring in your own sugar-free something cake, made with carob and oats? I don't know. You do. But this is the thing, right? How are you going to manage it? If it could throw you off your goal, what do? You show up anyway and you figure out, or you're just going to willpower through it. I know this is a stumbling block, but I'm just going to be different this time. I say figure out a plan. What is the plan? Okay. So we looked at roadblock plans. We've looked at what we're wanting to do. We're looking at what could happen. We're looking at how we either prevent it or manage it if the roadblocks come anyway. So then we go, all right, what about my surrounding? What about my environment, the world I'm operating in? And that could be anything down to your physical desk right in front of you to the ecosystem around you. What areas of your environment need to be set up in order to win, in order to accomplish those goals? Is it removing the cake from the house, right? Is it getting the gym bag ready? Are there things that can be removed, added, set up, something that needs to be purchased, returned, whatever it might be, conversations that need to be had that will allow you to set the right circumstances and environment to make this win. So think about that. Go ahead and start writing that now. Environment to win. How can I set up my environment to support me? I was explaining to my husband that my decorating goal is that in the house is to live in a spa. That's all I care. I want plants, water features. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about anything else. We don't even need a sofa. I just want plants and waterfalls, a couple cushions. All right, it'll be fine. That's all I need. So anything to be set up, again, conversations to be had. Sometimes it's software you might need to get or research. I have a friend who's real advanced with like kind of the AI stuff, so I'll call him sometime and go, oh, I need to talk to so and so and see if he's found any cool things about this. And I can set up my environment to win. All right. So as we look at the next thing, we're looking at June, right? We're already coming to the end. This is wild. Who do I want to be next month? So the June version of you, you just sat and looked at the May version of you, where you were, where you were at. You might have had a certain intention to show up a different way, and we see how we come through it, right? So now that you saw what May required of you, looking at the goals, the environment, the thing that you want to set up for June, who do you want or need to be next month? The June version of you. Do they need to be relaxed? Do they need to be on it, focused? Do they need to be ruthless? Do they need to be compassionate? Maybe there's a certain person, right? Maybe they need to be, I don't know, they need to be the Brene Brown or something, or of it, or maybe you need to be, um, now I'm on the Muppets theme, so that's all I can think about is like animal. Muppets, yeah. Like, where do you need to be? So whatever that means for you, it could be an embodiment, it could be an inspiration, it could just be kind of how we slapped that emotional theme or label on the month. This is similar. Like, is it what version of you that needs to be there for June? Who do you want or need to be in June? We'll wrap that up. Okay. So when we look at that person, who they need to be, where their mindset needs to be, or what they need to do, how do they behave? What are the behaviors of a person who needs to show up that way? What time do they get up? I always think about this like if it was a character in a movie and I was describing like, the character, like the kind of person that when they go to their grocery store, they have to touch all the fruit and squeeze it all, right? Or the kind of person who is gonna say hi to all the dogs when they're walking down the street, or the person who's like, ew, there's a dog, right? Like, how does that person behave? Those are our behaviors, right? So when you look at the June version of you, maybe the June version of you needs to be focused. Well, how does that focused person behave? What do they eat for breakfast? How do they get up? How do they have conversations? How does that person behave? So we're looking at that, and then you can move into these or kind of flow together. But how does that person behave, and what kind of action does that person take? Right? Behaviors and actions. I know they feel like the same thing, but they definitively different definition alone. But you have your behaviors, the things that are part of who you are and how it manifests, and then the actions that that person actually goes and does. So this is just putting a little bit of skin onto the idea of who you need to be, not just saying, oh, focus Tanya, or sales Tanya, whoever that is, but go, well, what does that mean? And how does sales Tanya show up? And what kind of behaviors does she have? And what actions does she take that is different than maybe reflective Tanya or whatever that might be, right? So that is what we are looking at there. Just a couple more seconds for anyone still getting some ideas about their actions and behaviors. All right, we'll dismiss that there. And I think that's it. Yay! We're moving into accountability. So if you are watching this on the live stream, we are going to go ahead and say goodbye to you. Thank you so much. Our members will stay, and we are going to do our accountability and make this implemented. So let me go ahead and stop this now, and go ahead and stop this now. And we are set almost, as I